welcome to Banter Such. I'm Brando.
And I'm Owen.
And today we are talking about House of the Dragon!
Love it or hate it, it might be one of the best Game of Thrones things that have ever come out.
Well, we sure have a lot to talk about.
And we do very much so. And today we have some very special guests on. Old friends of Brando.
You don't have to say it like that.
Sorry, was that not enough olds? We have two of the hosts of the amazing D&D podcast, 20 Sides.
Yeah.
We have Matt Earls.
That is I.
And Felipe Howard.
The one and only.
It's just pronounced Philip.
Philip. It's Philip.
It is, but sometimes. It's not boys, so I'll take what I can get.
And what was your name again?
I'm Owen.
All right, let's get to some BS.
So today we're talking about, I'm not kidding, I think one of the best things that HBO has.
I'm going to do this.
House of Dragons.
All right, there we go.
But before we get into that, we want to give you guys some heads up on some Helios Network stuff.
Yes, we would love for you to check out theheliosnetwork.com, where we will one day have a functioning store.
Yes. We have tried to have a functioning store, and there's been a lot of errors. So we're sorry if you've been trying to buy some of our stuff. Message us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or email us. I will give you our Venmo, and we'll just do it through that if need be.
We'll just we'll drive to your house and drop it off.
Yeah, give us your address. We want to see the furniture from the front lawn. No, I'm kidding.
People out here, we're trying to make it out here, man.
All right, we'll ride in on our dragons.
There we go.
Also, if you'd like to support the show, check out our Patreon. The link is in the show description. It's just a great way to support the show and the Helios Network as a whole, plus get some bonus content from us.
Yes, so now we are ready to jump in. House of the Dragon, Season 1. We were just, right before we started recording, we were just talking about like how this is huge.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it all in, 40 minutes?
We probably should have broke this into like 3 episodes.
But we're not.
No, we're doing it all right now. So Matt and Philip, go ahead and show us your receipts. Why are you on today's podcast? And tell us a little bit about your podcast.
We are, I don't know why you invited us on. I think we
you slid into our DMs.
That is true.
Yeah, you did. You did slide into our DMs.
Hey, man, I swiped right on you. Right.
I don't know how that works. I'm
too old for that.
We are way too old for that. Literally old. We are a live play, fast-paced, story-driven, actual play Dungeons & Dragons podcast. We are tightly edited, so a lot of the times you'll hear podcasts, especially live play D&D podcasts, where it sounds like there's one microphone in the middle of the table and everybody's screaming and you can't hear them half the time, and then the other half the time you feel like your eardrums are absolutely going to bust out of your head. Ours is not like that. So you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok.
All the things, all the social things.
At 20 Sides Pod. Check us out.
Nice.
Yeah. And what about you two? Tell us a little bit about your nerdum and your overall, like, you personally.
So, well, if you want my receipt for why I should be here, my wife and I run a podcast agency. And so we primarily work with female entrepreneurs, and she is the face and business side. We have about 30 to, I think we've got a couple more coming on, about 32 clients that we work with right now.
That's awesome.
All over the country.
I did not know this. This is cool.
Yeah, we teach them how to set everything up at their home. We walk through making sure they know how to record and do all those things. Then we do everything else from there. So then they send us what they have recorded. I mix, master,
nice.
Edit, do all those things.
It's really just an MLM scheme.
It really is.
Buy my plastic jewelry.
So that was something when we decided to start a podcast, we kind of already had the leg up on how to get into everything, what we needed to do, how we needed to progress.
That
and
makes a lot of sense why you guys'
this
podcast sounds so professional then.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of, both of us at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, for those that don't understand.
Go Vandy. What?
Recording industry majors at one point.
Nice.
A lot of background being from Nashville and in Nashville. We are it's
Music City, baby.
Music City.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of our audio comes from that as well. So
If you haven't been in a band are you really from Nashville?
Right, exactly.
You know what? That's not true.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
We've all been in a garage band, at
Exactly.
least, right? Yeah.
No, we use Logic Pro, not GarageBand.
Ah, there
Sorry,
we go.
you don't know that joke, Brando, because you're a dirty PC
Windows.
user.
Yeah. Bill
Matt
Gates
is
owns
too.
my soul.
Yeah.
Mac all the way.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Mac,
all the
I mean,
way.
I have a PC for gaming, like the master race should, but but Mac for editing. And then, more importantly, how do you guys know Brando?
We went to high school with him.
I know.
Back in
right?
the 1800s.
Yeah.
So when
It was amazing. Like,
she
your
would ring the
hor-
bell,
your
and we
horse-
ran in from
yeah.
the farms.
Yeah,
Yes.
and your horse was killing it. Your horse was so
I had
well
a broken
groomed.
I had a broken wagon wheel one time. He fixed for me.
Yeah.
It was
I can
great.
shoe a horse.
amazing. He
Yeah.
can.
Was
With
he
the
the
best
creator
of
of
them.
Hey Yo Silva away?
His girlfriend churned the best butter. Literally the best butter you've ever had in your life.
Yeah,
I'm surprisingly into that. That there's some connotations there that we're not going to get into, but
that's why I'm married.
yeah, wow, good for you, Brando.
Yeah.
Now I know why.
I did marry my high school sweetheart. My wife
Nice,
is
really?
we've dated in high school. Yeah,
That's
She
awesome.
went to the fancy private school though. She didn't go
Okay,
to
fair.
our
Oh, gotcha, okay.
public school.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
she
Yeah.
was the fancy one. So
Love it.
yeah, so yeah, it's funny. We were like reconnecting and all that stuff and all that and
So I'll let me tell the story real quick.
yeah, okay.
So I might primarily run our Instagram. So I get this message, and I'm like, I think I woke up to the message.
You're
'Cause-
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'm not an early morning person. I'm usually hungover in the morning. I'll say that because of my real job. But anyways, I was like, I have no idea what this person is saying or what they're trying to get at. So I screenshot it and I sent it to Brando. I was like, I think these guys are talking about you.
Yeah, like they're talking to me. Oh, you're not the only one on the show.
That's true.
Reach
Sorry,
out to me.
wait, who are you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the co-host. I'm the sidekick.
Yeah, that's okay. There we go. I'll
I'm
prefer
fine
that.
with that.
Yeah,
I'm
Batman, Robin. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, and that's how ended up how it came about. It was just really funny. I was like, I literally read your guys' like message on Instagram like 8 times over. I'm like,
to figure out what he's
I was how it was like I don't know 9:30 in the morning. I'm like one eye open, my brain's pounding. I'm like I didn't go to this high school. I'm not even from Tennessee. I was like oh. It's my business partner.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so I mean, when we were talking about topics and stuff, of course, we came to House of the Dragon season 1. This is a big deal. Like, it's a big cultural phenomenon. It's part of the Game of Thrones thing that is. It was huge. I mean, it's a big thing. So, and it's something Owen and I like. Man, we both watched it. We both loved it. And we're like, we got to do an episode on it. We got to talk about it. And that's what we settled on. It was like, man, what are we going to say about this? Because I think to start off, if we're going to start talking about this, I really think we have to address the elephant in the room.
Season 8.
Yes.
Season
Yeah,
5
like-
through 8, you mean?
You know, what is your relationship with Game of Thrones? What was that experience? Like, coming into House of the Dragon, what was that like for you?
I didn't. Okay.
I was
maybe,
gonna say I loved Game of Thrones, and I think that's one of the things I like about D&D is just the amount of lore and like
Yeah.
backstory and things that you can really get into with that. I didn't love the final season. I did like, and that did put kind of like a wet blanket on it on the whole thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like, if you just said Game of Thrones, loved it.
Yeah.
Like, in general.
Absolutely. In general,
Yes.
loved it. Yes.
To me, it was the best show in the history of television until the last season
Oh,
hit.
my gosh, yes.
Like, I can think back to so many
the
just.
Battle of the Bastards was
Oh, my God.
incredible.
Yes.
It lived up to the hype,
Yeah,
the
it
expectation.
did.
Yeah.
and
incredible.
just following it week by week, and so there was none of the like Stranger Things comes out, and a week later everybody stops talking about it. I mean, we talked about Game of Thrones for 8 years. I feel like
Everyone,
Trying to figure out-
everyone.
It was
Yeah.
wasn't it 8 seasons over 9 or 10 years? I
Yeah.
wanna
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
All these people who grew up with Harry Potter and had some kind of fantasy thing,
Mm-hmm.
as grown-ups, who were like, Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Well, and it like it had that like in your head that you were trying to figure out. Well, okay, well, how did they get there? And so you're reading all these fan theories, and
Yes.
you're going through all these other.
Yes.
So you're spending more time than just like what you watched.
Yes.
You're like now we're on like message boards and seeing why the Targaryens think this,
Yeah.
and why House Stark
Is
It's
Bran
like-
the Night King?
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was that theory. I forgot
That's
about
my
that
favorite
one.
theory ever. And then
Yeah.
he's like, why do you think I came all this way? And you're like, no!
Yes.
No!
To warg into a dragon, maybe?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that, man? That would have been so awesome.
Bran did nothing the entire 8 seasons.
Literally nothing.
But the genius was you expected him to every time.
Yes.
And then nothing happened.
Yeah.
You were like,
Yeah.
what?
I don't know if I'd call that genius.
That's like
Or he stopped writing the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And those few people who had read these massive tomes
Yeah.
that George R. R. Martin wrote, they became the gatekeepers of the lore. They were the lore
yeah.
keepers.
Yeah.
And like online, they had legendary status because, all the rest of us peasants were like,
Yeah.
I just watched the TV show. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But the book people were like, oh, yeah, this is going to, wait till you see the red wedding. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And that was, did you guys read the books or were you just
No.
the TV show?
Definitely, I
read-
was definitely one of the peasants.
I read
Yeah,
the first 200 pages of the first book, and I was an English major in college, and I could not get through.
There's too many words.
It was too dense. It's just too dense. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need to know about his great grandfather's stepbrother who lived on the other side of the world who has nothing to do with the story at all. Like there's
That's
way
why they
too
were the
much going on.
gatekeepers because they knew all that
Oh, they knew everything.
information.
All the
That
backstory.
made everything else make so much more sense.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. It's just funny, like when you say like you couldn't. I also bought the first book.
Yeah.
When it first came out, I was like, I watched the show, the first season. I was like, this is dope. Bought the book, started reading the book, and Brando hates me for this, but the exact same thing happened to me. That happened to you, Matt. But it's also what happened to me when I first started reading Lord of the Rings. I love Tolkien, and I eat up like that scenery. Tolkien was amazing at describing scenery.
Absolutely.
But I don't need 18 pages of how the wind rolls through the reeds at Farmer Maggot's farm, right? Like I don't need that. And like House of
17 camping scenes.
yeah. But it's like,
I get it. You made a fire.
Yeah. Yeah. And he struck the iron again to attempt to light the fire. Okay.
Stupid potatoes. Get onto the action.
And I wrote a Hobbit song to go along with it.
And then here's the song. 3 pages.
Yeah.
But
Martin
he's
did the same
genius.
thing,
He's
and so
brilliant.
I'm right there with you on this. But like,
I heard that he would
honestly-
describe feasts like food a lot.
Yes,
I heard
yeah.
that, and I've never read, but I've heard that.
It's just a little too much. Like if you're like, it's a big suckling pig. Cool, I know what it is, but it's like,
Thank you.
And the way the fire rose up and just overarched across the chicharrone style skin of the pork and the juice. I was like, dude, I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, let's go.
Did you say that chicharrones?
Chicharrone style skin, yeah, chicharrones, pork skin.
You talking about some tacos? Or something?
Yeah.
Westerosian tacos.
That's so good.
That's down from Dorne.
Yeah,
That's where I get that.
yeah. Oberyn Martell definitely
There we
made
go.
him.
Hey, a little Game of Thrones joke there, huh? You like that, you fucking nerds?
But man, like I'm right there with you guys on this. Like I loved every single episode. Like, yeah, there was definitely some downhill there towards the end. But one of my claim to fames is remember when Game of Thrones partnered with Ommegang, the brewery.
No.
Oh yeah. So they partnered with them.
Okay.
And Ommegang, which I think is like somewhere in like New York or something like that, made a bunch of Game of Thrones inspired beers.
What?
And
Interesting.
I collected almost every single one from when they first came out, and I gathered them. And then on the last episode with all my friends, I opened up every single one. So I had some of them for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh,
Okay,
Wow.
one, that's really cool, and two, it's kind of sad that that's your claim to fame.
Well, you haven't subbed to my OnlyFans, so
This dude has a serious alcohol collection, man.
and then Brando, what about you? Last before we head into
I was
House
the
of
same
Dragons.
way. Like, so I came into it. I was kind of an early adopter of the show because I'm a huge fan of the genre, and I remember like getting into Battlestar Galactica. I don't know if you remember that in the early 2000s. And sorry, don't hate. It's a silly name, but like I watched the original as a kid, and then when they made the remake, I was like, this is cool, and I got my whole friend group into it. And that was just so cool to me, because I was the early adopter. And I remember seeing the behind the scenes of Game of Thrones before it came out, and I was like, dude, this is going to be a big deal. And I got all my friends into it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And then we got into it, and it ended up being this huge cultural phenomenon. Everyone's talking about it. It's SNL skits, you know what I mean? All this stuff. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, for season after season after season, you're looking forward to it. And I'm that same way. That 8th season, it was just, and even when they went beyond the books, I was like, dude, hey, they met with George R.R. Martin. They know his vision. Yep. So let him go for it. I still believed in them. But that 8th season was just, it was so soul crushing.
Do you think they got it? Do you think they were ever in a room together? Maybe just the two showrunners, and they just looked at each other and went, what are we going to do?
Just look up at each other and go,
there's no way to, there's no way to wrap.
Well, you heard about how they got hired to do the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And so the showrunners for Game of Thrones, they were going to do these Star Wars movies. So rumor is, who knows if it's true, they were just trying to hurry up to get out of Game of Thrones so that they could get on to Star Wars, their next big thing.
And they didn't even do that.
No. And then, season 8 was so bad that Disney canceled their Star Wars movies.
I don't know. No matter what, it would have been better than what we got.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But think about the budget that they spent on that season, and
massive.
just like how much they were pouring into it. You figured even just that alone would have given that little over the top edge of, but it just didn't.
I mean, did nobody stop them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, for real. Like, did nobody in a room just look at him and go, no.
Yeah, well,
look at this scroll. What do you know?
It was the guy who
Arya kills the Night King? Where's that coming from?
It was the guy who takes their lunch orders. He was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody somewhere went.
That guy got fired, though.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to call it now. We're going over an hour tonight.
Like, do you think the UPS driver came by and went, nah?
Hey, man, don't do that.
Yeah.
Please.
But think about all those American Idol contestants that showed up because they thought they could sing.
Yeah.
And were just god awful. Like, could not.
You talking about Ed Sheeran?
All of them. Yeah. Right?
Oh, wow. Oh.
But, like, if nobody had the heart to tell them, these guys that had just done this epic.
I mean,
they're on top of the world.
Yeah. They've done something that nobody's done in, I mean, probably since Star Wars. I mean, really,
it was the biggest show ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, that's.
But I mean, I guess if nobody will tell Kanye to stop, then nobody's going to tell him.
All right, that's good.
I mean, when Jon Snow started, like, defending Nazis, I was really surprised.
The Night King isn't that bad.
Yes, he is.
No. You can't disagree with everything he said.
I mean, I like some of the stuff he did. No, you shouldn't.
Zombies aren't
and there's Tywin Lannister on the other side. Like, yo, this is a little too weird even for me.
You heard that? Like, even George R.R. Martin and HBO both wanted them to do, because it was a shorter season.
Yeah.
Season 8 was, and they both wanted them to do a longer season. They even
to.
more
I
than
didn't know
10.
that.
Yes. And I've known them as D&D online. I hate associating them. I can't remember their actual names.
Daniel and David?
Whatever their last names were, it was
Cain and Abel.
Yes, essentially. Yeah. But they were the ones who wanted to do the shorter season, and that adds to that whole rumor of apparently they just wanted to get out of there, man.
Yeah.
They'd been doing it for so long, and they had already achieved maximum success.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I get that, but you got to end well, man.
Yeah.
You set up, and so much is set up, and it was soul crushing. So honestly, like when House of the Dragons was announced, I was unfazed. I was like, I it's like an abusive relationship. You know what I mean?
I've been here before.
It's like, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I'll never again, baby.
I'll never do that ever again.
I've heard it all before. Not again, damn it.
You can change me, I promise.
Okay, fine, but only one more chance. It's like, that's how I felt. I was unfazed. And so when I sat down with it, my enthusiasm was just so low because I was like, I gave my heart to Game of Thrones and they crush it. And I was like, I am so reluctant to be vulnerable again.
See, I was the exact opposite. Like, I was so pumped because of all of the like fan theories that were out and all these other things about like, because of the past and because of these things, like you see, you know, all this other stuff happening. And I'm like, I want to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see that stuff. And so when that came out to me, it was almost like redemption time. Okay, you realize you screwed up the last one. This is going to be sick.
Well,
here we go.
I remember when they first announced it, like a couple of weeks later, they made another announcement that was basically like, we already know the ending this time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
You have the arc complete already.
Okay, so
you know where you're going.
To fight for HBO's side on that, Martin did promise that he would have the final book done
That's true.
before the series would end.
How many years has it been since he released the last
he's
book?
not even. He's done. He's already said he's probably not going to do the last
No,
book.
he hasn't.
I don't think he has.
No, I think he's still...
He's still, quote unquote, writing.
Isn't he like 75?
He's if I
At
am blown away
Like,
he's not dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look healthy, you know,
No.
no offense, but he's 75, you know, and that's a legitimate concern though, right? It's like,
right.
hey man, if you die, what happens?
Isn't
man?
that why there's 2 years between season 1 and season 2
So
right now?
okay, so there is.
Oh,
all right, here
no.
we go. I looked it up. He actually has the last 2 books to write still. So that's why season 7 and 8 were bad because those were not Martin seasons technically. Stated in October of 2022, so only a few months ago, he said that he's going to release both books together, and he's
Really?
about 3/4 of the way through.
I've heard that for 10 years.
I know. Yeah, right, dude. We're not buying it.
Yep.
But the thing is, he's like, then he'll announce on like his blog or Twitter or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, I wrote this other show," and and then you see pictures of him on like a tropical island with like women in bikinis, and I'm like, I get it, dude. You are rich, you want to live your life, but finish the books.
Right.
All right, here it is.
What's going
So-
to happen is Brandon Sanderson is going to end up finishing those books, just like he did Wheel of Time. That's exactly
Oh,
what's going to
That's the
happen.
thing.
We don't talk about Wheel of Time in
Brandon
this household.
Sanderson
Oh,
is
God.
way too Mormon to write Game of Thrones. There's no way.
All right.
man.
So someone online did the math. He has been saying this for over a decade.
I
All
love
right.
it when I'm right.
You were right
Right.
on.
So
Jeez.
if it took him took him over 10 years to write 75%,
Okay.
then the next 25% moves at roughly the same pace. We're assuming this, right?
Is this
We
an
can-
equation?
Yes.
We're
We can
spelling out.
predict that the last books will come out in late 2025 or early 2026.
That's not bad though. That's
If
not
he's
bad.
alive.
Well,
Right.
that's true.
And that's the most Game of Thrones, like Reddit, subreddit thread I've ever heard in my life.
Exactly.
This is what Game of Thrones fans are doing on the internet.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
We are fucking crazy, man.
yeah. 100% correct.
So, how about we actually get into today's
I know,
topic?
right?
Okay.
So House of the Dragon. Well, I mean, you just have to talk about that because all of that is completely coloring your experience with House of the Dragon. Because for me, when I sat down with House of the Dragon, I remember, Sarah and I, and my wife Sarah, she was just like, she was the same way. She's like, I don't care. You're not gonna fool me. It's the George Bush. Fool me again. Shame on you.
Fool me twice. Shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Shame back on.
I mean, they're throwing shoes at us, and we're trying to
HBO.
dodge here, But we sat down. We watched that first episode, and I remember when that episode went off, I was like, man, that was really good.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I feel like they're pulling me back in. By the time the season was over, I was like, woo! Like,
We're back, baby.
wow.
I can honestly say that I truly believe this. That the first season of House of Dragons is quite possibly the best Game of Thrones thing ever.
Oh wow!
And
Okay.
I have to go in.
Yeah,
I have to
I don't
realize
know.
that I have some prejudice in my life because we all just talked about it.
Yeah,
So maybe because I wanted it
You're
to be
just
so
fiending
good.
so bad.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
know.
For me, there was a lull in it. Those the first episode was so good at like melding who everybody was.
Yes.
And like what was going on that it took me that way too, where like like you got to hear like this like history of everything happening and see people interact like all at the same time.
Yeah.
So you got this feel for like who people were, and then you had this massive like the pregnancy scene and that
we
whole
gotta
like
talk about
heart-wrenching
that.
stuff and like
Ooh.
and so it was like, man, that was so good. And then for me, and I don't know how fast y'all want to go through this, but like just kind of how we talked about this on the way over here. You didn't know who to root for.
Oh yeah.
There was really no clear, like, that's my guy. Like, I wasn't like, yes, House Stark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I was in Game of Thrones.
Oh, man. I have a clear, I think, who is the good guy and who is the bad guy.
Really?
I
share,
I
please.
do understand this, right? Like, I think no matter who you choose,
Yeah.
whether it's House Targaryen or House Hightower,
Yeah.
I don't
green
think
or black. That's
green or black.
That's the colors.
I don't
yeah.
think there is a wrong or right answer.
Okay.
So because I
Okay.
can get
Agreed.
it.
Yeah,
How
I-
postmodern of you.
Oh my god! Yeah. I am so
Man,
pragmatic.
you do you, man.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
But
It's all inclusivity around
I
here.
think
It's
you know
not-
from my morals,
Okay.
I think the Targaryen is the good side.
Okay.
There's no way.
100%.
But like what Targaryen?
Yeah.
Damon killed his wife.
He murdered her.
Okay,
Literally
Rhaenyra. All right, so if you
murdered.
really want to get into it, Rhaenyra versus
Alicent.
Alicent. Okay.
It's Rhaenyra.
Okay.
Rhaenyra is if you want to go on who should be queen or the next ruler, it is Rhaenyra.
But is Alicent just like a pawn
Of her father.
for
of her
dad,
father?
right,
Like
exactly.
she is like the quintessential example of somebody who is just a result of their upbringing.
Yes.
yes.
And she, like, unless she was going against everything, which she couldn't do, especially at quote unquote that time. Well, it's a fantasy show, but like medieval.
But it's
Like-
still a patriarchal society.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't go against all this, so you just kind of got to go with it. And so she's just a pawn in everybody else's game.
So I would agree with you for the first maybe 5 or 6 episodes. The last like 3 episodes though, 3 or 4 episodes, Alicent I think came into her fucking own.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh,
And I don't
absolutely,
think
yeah.
is no longer a pawn of
Well,
Otto's.
yeah,
of her dad's.
agreed.
No,
Yeah.
for
Well, I
sure.
like how they make Alicent. So Alicent is on the side of green.
Sorry, I said Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra's on the
Sorry.
side of black.
Yeah.
She's the Targaryen. Alicent's more Hightower. And I love how they made her like we root for her and we root for Rhaenyra. But for me, because I was gonna ask, like, are you side green or side black? But for me, the thing is Alicent's kids are so shitty. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, I
Right.
hate your children, man.
Yes.
And I
Which is the worst thing. That's like the ultimate cut that you're a horrible parent.
Yes, and it's like I like you,
Yeah.
but I wish your kids would die. You know, and I get that because she is a pawn to her father. Her father is Otto Hightower, and he's politically maneuvered himself. He has no royal blood himself, right?
Yep.
So he's in that society. He's a person of no one, but he's maneuvered himself to be the hand of the king by his own merit, right? But he's the one who has ambition to like do the coup, and take over.
Right.
And so Alicent is kind of a pawn of that. But then you have the next generation, just those kids, those damn kids that are just rotten. And it's like the plan is to install them, what's his name? Aemond or Aegon.
Yeah, Aegon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aegon.
As
Yeah.
the king. And it's like,
Well, which Aegon? Because they mentioned like
there's
6 of them.
so
There's a
many
ton of
Aegons.
Aegons.
Yeah.
And they all sound the same.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard. I realized this. I was writing down the names and I was like, this episode's going to be so dumb. Like,
Right. Because they're
No.
all Aegons. Rhaenyra has an Aegon.
Aegon. Yep.
And so
Yeah.
but that part of it too, where like Rhaenyra's claim, when she obviously doesn't care enough to like keep everything in the line, so she has these bastard children that she obviously didn't care about it being Targaryens and it being like in that line.
oh,
Yeah.
Like versus so did she really care about sitting on the Iron Throne, or is this all just about getting back at Alicent because of her father? Like
it almost seems like it doesn't, like for Rhaenyra though, she doesn't care about, it's not about Alicent, it's about like her own father, King Viserys. And she's like, hey, my father named me the heir, so I'm the heir, and I'm gonna be the heir. I'm gonna be the queen. And like, and then over on the green side, it's like, well, no, we're doing political maneuverings because we want to have power. And also, it would be better for everyone if a man were on the throne.
Right.
And that's why you can see both sides, because it's like, well, Rhaenyra is a legitimate heir because she was named and all that stuff. And what's interesting, too, it was the closest thing to democracy we've ever seen in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You realize
Right,
that?
yeah, that's true.
They called all the lords and stuff, and they voted on things like that, you know? And but then again, on the other side, it's like, well, if you put a woman in that culture, it's going to create instability, and that instability would create violence and suffering.
Do you think so? Like, I think it was maybe the second to last episode or whatever, where, oh God, the king is named
Viserys.
Yes, when Viserys dies, and he whispers to Alicent, do you think she truly believed what she thinks she heard?
Yes.
Or do you think
she does?
We mentioned about Aegon.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the
He was
original,
talking about original
the
Aegon.
prophecy.
Right,
Yes.
100%.
And she thought he was talking about her son.
Right.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
do you think
Which is the problem with everybody being named Aegon.
Yeah, because you have to realize at the beginning
Steve
of the
is
episode,
a great name. Brian is a great name.
Yeah.
What about Jeremy?
hey, John.
Yeah.
all different names, not Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra's, Aegon, Aemon, Aiden, Aemon, Mammon, Damon, Demon, Dooman,
There's a Brandon in
It's
Game
like
of Thrones.
it's like every kid born in 2012 is like Caden, Baden, Braden, Jaden.
Spell it the right way,
Male-
damn it.
all the male stripper names.
Candy,
Macy, Tacy,
Dandy,
Daisy,
Randy.
Macy, Lacey. Yeah.
But no, going back to your original question of like, are you team black or team green? I truly have no idea who to root for. Like,
Really?
I
You're trying to be neutral.
no, I don't want to be neutral. I want.
You have a side. Come on.
I think in my in my fantasy world of like in Lord of the Rings, you're clearly rooting for like there's a
The
good
good
guy and a
guy.
bad
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones, the original, there are clearly good guys and bad guys.
Jon Snow is the protagonist.
No,
Jon Snow-
there's only one good group in the entire original Game
but
of
even
Thrones.
like,
Yeah,
the
the
Tyr-
Starks.
the Starks
Right,
and
the
the
Starks,
Snows.
right.
Everybody
Yeah.
else is gray.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but like even Tyrion has.
Yeah, there you go.
He
Yeah,
leans
yeah.
way more toward protagonist than his dad does, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's just not one of those people. I mean, they're so gray.
Yeah.
I think in House of the Dragon that I would love to have a
they're
little
so
more lean.
Gray Joy.
Heyo.
Hey, Joy.
You know what? No.
But I think that goes back
No.
to Owens. I think that
I'm
goes
not
back
even
to-
going to give you that.
No, I'm not going to humor that terrible
Yes.
joke.
But that
Don't
goes back-
embarrass me in front of the 20 sides guys, all right? Come on, these are real podcasters over here.
With their audio engineering degrees.
Don't embarrass me in front of my high school friends.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen him in like 20 years.
I'm so sorry, guys.
But that goes back to Owen's point, though, in that like whichever side you choose, there's merit to it.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Like,
Leg-
100%.
legitimate.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I see why you're saying, Allison, you're wrong, but I see why.
But
Right.
does that work for a TV show?
Yes.
In a TV show, do you need somebody to root for?
Not-
Are there any other TV shows like that?
Without a protagonist.
Yeah.
Where they're just all characters happening.
Yeah.
Doing
Okay,
their
so
thing.
this is something that I have talked about on the podcast before, and I love repeating myself apparently. So, but
Do it,
like,
baby.
I think if you like watch Infinity War.
I've done that, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
have you watched it?
Once or
Have we
twice.
have we talked about
That's
it?
a great movie.
It's a great
What
movie.
what is that? I'm kidding.
So there's this cultural phenomenon. No,
You guys heard of this movie called Avatar?
but if you
I'm
watch Infinity Wars, they write the story like Thanos is the protagonist.
Yeah.
So I love some alternative style of storytelling, like where it's like, hey, who's really the good guy, who's really the bad guy? Like Yellowstone right now. Yellowstone is a great way. Another one that's very much like that. Who is the good guy? Who is the bad guy?
like Sopranos or Breaking
Soprano
Bad.
yeah.
They're bad people, but they're the protagonists.
They're the
Fair.
main characters
Fair. Yeah.
and things like that. But I do enjoy having some TV shows where everyone is questionable on their morality and who's good and who's bad. That doesn't mean
And I think that
you could tell who's
yeah.
the main character, because a lot of people use protagonist and antagonist as like, oh, the main characters versus not. No, it's who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, who drives the story, who doesn't.
Yeah.
So I do like some ambiguity at times, and I think for political dramas like this, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Do I want every single show that I ever fucking watch to be like this? No.
Yeah, it would get old if it were too much.
Yeah, I
And
just
if
started,
it's not done really, really well,
And
it
this
would be
is.
awful.
And
it
this
is
is done well.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, which to
Absolutely.
me was one of the high points of bringing me back. Was I was waiting for somebody to turn that way, like
Yeah.
to see, like you're saying, political dramas. Obviously, we know there's so much behind the scenes things happening. I was waiting, like I'm gonna come back for this next episode because I want to see who makes that turn towards I'm doing the right thing and I'm gonna become the right person, or
So
I'm a villain.
I'm a villain.
point of
right.
contention
Okay.
then, because I think there was that moment, which is why I personally choose a side with
Are you gonna
Rhaenyra.
you gonna talk about Damon? Is that
No, not even on the Damon.
okay? Because
It
he's
is-
had some back. and
He
forths.
oh
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
a crush on him?
oh fuck. I don't have a crush on
doesn't
Matt
now?
Smith
Okay.
because let's talk about a little vampire movie he did.
I fell in love with him in Morbius.
It's Morbin time. No, but like I do have a crush on Damon. I think Damon's awesome. Morally, that's weird. But anyways, so
Yeah.
for me is
He's a terrible person.
He's a terrible person, but,
But he's so
it's
fun to
why
watch.
I'm a Lannister. It's why I fucking loved Lannisters in the first Game of Thrones. It's because they are so questionably mortal, but I loved watching them because there's great actors and actresses,
Yeah.
and it was very well played out. But anyways, back to my
compelling,
point. There was a moment where I think it proves that the High Towers are the bad guys. It's the episode right after Viserys dies.
Okay.
They're doing the council meeting, and you cannot tell me how they went about that council meeting and everything that happened afterwards to make sure that Alicent's firstborn,
Aegon.
Aegon, was that Aegon?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's
not
Aegon.
If
Aemon,
you use the name
not
Aegon,
Aelin.
there's like a
It's-
70%
yeah.
chance you're
Yeah.
correct.
It is
Okay, cool.
Aegon, yes.
So
Egon Spengler.
yeah, Aegon Spengler was talking to Aegon Spengler about Aemon Spengler
There we go.
and Damon Spengler. Yeah.
Well, that was the coup.
So it was a coup.
It was a coup.
And
Yeah.
please tell me in the history of the world and all fictional writing, anytime a coup was a good thing.
Well, but so you have to go back to the first episode with, is it Jaehaerys?
Jaharis,
Jaehaerys he was the one who was deciding
the grandfather,
who
like,
was going to decide who
Yeah.
was going to be heir. Like they talk about like
Yeah,
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra,
No,
Rhaenyra.
Rhaenys.
Rhaenys.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
We're gonna be doing this the whole fucking
I know.
episode, guys.
There's memes about this.
Yes. So
I had to write them down.
how
So I'm-
technically it was almost like law that she couldn't be.
yeah,
So it
Because she was a woman.
because she's a woman.
Yeah.
So there's almost like law she could not be that. So then you're saying, are the High Towers just following the law and saying, yes, this is a coup, and maybe we're doing this an illegitimate way, but we're doing it so that the law is followed, not because this king just said,
because that's
here's
what it was.
my heir.
When King Viserys named his daughter Rhaenyra as the heir, it was kind of flippant.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
just him just kind of pissed off, and he's like, you know what, fuck all you guys. My daughter's going to be queen.
All I can hear is all you misogynistic saying that you're not willing to let a woman run the world.
And I would say I'm Team Rhaenyra. Like I think
Yeah,
I think I am. But I also think they talk about it so much
Yeah.
that it's because she's a woman, not necessarily because of anything she's done or anything necessarily.
Well, what's interesting,
but-
because, we mentioned the generation before this, when King Jaehaerys they were deciding, and is like, is it going to go to Rhaenys or is it going to go to Viserys? And Rhaenys is the girl and Viserys is the boy. And so they all voted, and they all voted for Viserys. And then King Viserys, who is the father king in the show, he was a weak king. He was not suited to be the king. He didn't have a commanding presence. He didn't have leadership.
You're saying Viserys.
Viserys.
Okay,
Viserys.
the dad.
Yeah, the dad. And his sister, Rhaenys, was clearly, and if you watch this character throughout the 10 episodes, she is clearly a queen.
Oh,
she is a leader. She is strong. She is decisive. She's wise, and so she is the one who should have been. And I love how that subtext is there when they bring it in for this younger generation.
So
that's good.
So even in her
That's
counsel, you see the way that she talks to Rhaenyra about things and that kind of stuff. It's like not only does she have that temperament, but just the wisdom that she had.
Yeah,
she would have been great.
Viserys.
And the realm would have benefited if she had been queen.
Right. There is something I'm going to support you a little bit here, Brando, but I'm also going to disagree with you on something.
I
here.
like this.
All right. So there is a contrast between Viserys and his daughter Rhaenyra. All right. So towards the beginning, right, Viserys goes on a hunt.
Okay, yeah.
And he kills a stag, but he has to have his crew, his soldiers hunt the stag for him,
tie him
basically
down.
maim the stag, and then he gets the final blow. And even in the final blow, you see him kind of go sour. Like he turns
weak.
green.
He's weak.
Yeah,
Right,
he's weak. He's not. They even call him Viserys the Peaceful.
Yeah,
that was his
which
name.
Wasn't a positive thing.
Yeah, and in the same episode, at the end of it is when a boar comes and attacks Rhaenyra and Kristen Cole.
Yeah,
and Rhaenyra's the one that kills it,
like viciously
kills it and drags it back to camp.
That scene was amazing.
So they do show that there is a contrast between Viserys and Rhaenyra in that,
where she's stronger.
Okay, so here's my question. All right, this is where I'm going to disagree with you a little bit.
Okay.
Just because Viserys was the peaceful, he didn't want war. He didn't have the stomach for it. He wasn't a violent person in any way, shape, or form. Does that make him a weak leader?
Well, I would say it's because he was indecisive and he was kind of wishy-washy. Like he didn't have a firm leadership and it's like, this is what we're doing, everyone follow me. Whereas someone like his sister Rhaenys
I'm gonna completely combat you on that.
Okay.
I think his whole entire thing was not to go to war because he knew the war would tear the nation apart.
Yeah.
And as well, he was more concerned with the prophecy of the Song of Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
And making sure that was the main goal and trying to keep the whole nation together underneath him rather than trying to go to war.
Because he did show times where he could be, and especially when it came to Daemon and like some of those things where he would
his brother, the younger brother who was the hothead.
Yes, and he would step up and he would say things and be a little more demanding and a little more like, if I need to be, I can.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be.
If you push him far enough, he would freak out. And so we've been talking about all these different characters, and I know we've mentioned Daemon and Rhaenyra and Rhaenys and all this stuff.
And Aegon.
And Aegon, and then also Aegon, and also Aegon.
Hey, what's your thoughts on Aegon?
Which one?
I didn't like Aegon, but I loved Aegon.
Which is witchy?
So who was your favorite character? Like, did one of them jump out to you as like, dude, I loved this one?
Viserys.
Okay.
All day. I think he, like, well, one, the actor, Patty.
I'm gonna, Matt, give me a high five.
King Viserys.
King
the
Viserys.
Big Daddy Vizzy.
Yeah.
The actor did a phenomenal job with him.
Paddington?
Yeah.
Patty Considine, yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's what we said the last episode. That's a real bear. It's a real bear. Okay, I remember the joke.
Look at that CGI. You're telling me that's not a real bear?
How'd they train the bear to wear that coat?
Make Avatar right now.
We're making Avatar. I love repeating jokes.
Oh, it's so good.
Do you know what? It was funny.
Hey, do we have Michael Caine here? No, we're not gonna do that.
Hey, everyone, check out our last episode where we said all of this already.
But no, like King Viserys, there were so many times that you could tell he was just overwhelmed by his family, not by the nation, but like not the king
kingdom,
responsibilities, but like dealing with his grandkids, dealing with his Alicent wife, not his previous wife, and his daughter, and dealing with all that. I think that drove him almost mad toward the end. In that last, was the feast they were having or whatever, that scene alone is one of the best scenes to me.
The Last Supper.
Yeah.
It was
way to put it.
In the Game of Thrones.
It was heartbreaking.
It was a last moment of peace.
Yeah.
He had the Greens and the Blacks, the whole family all together.
Yep.
And they were genuinely laughing and dancing and feasting. And you saw like this smile on the king's face. And he's old. He's about to die.
Yeah.
And this smile, like his last experience he got
even
what he
had
wanted. It was beautiful.
Rhaenyra and Alicent apologize to one another and actually mean it.
And it was real.
Right. And it was real.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And he knew though that it didn't matter. Like looking into that actor's eyes right there, he did such a good job of being like, they're saying these things to each other, and they truly do mean it. Because I think Alicent and Rhaenyra are still best friends, and they wish they could. They wish they weren't part of what they're going through.
They don't want to go to war. With each other.
They don't at all.
Yeah.
They're like, it's almost like they're still pawns in people's games that they don't even want to play, but they have to play.
Yeah.
And the king, you can just see him being like, there's nothing I can do that's going to change any of this, even though everybody's happy right now and everything's great right now, because the moment we leave, we're all going right back to pandering for the throne.
But you know what? Like, how human was that moment? I think the reason that scene is so compelling is because I feel like we can all relate to that. Because it's like, you know what, man, the world might catch on fire tomorrow, but right now it's nice.
Yes.
Right? Can we just be here in this moment, and it's nice and it's warm and it's loving, and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
And then when we get to tomorrow, then we can freak out.
And then Aerosmith starts playing in the background, and you hear, right here in this moment, forever, in every moment spent. Sorry. Apologize.
Dude, honestly, Philip, we're going to go to you, but I'm going to take over real quick just because I 100% agree. Viserys was my favorite character, and it's strictly because the entire cast was insane. I'm not downplaying anybody's acting ability.
And the younger ones and the older ones.
But Patty Considine, I think is how you say his last name.
Sure.
Paddington. His acting in this movie this show was insane. To play a character like that, and as well with like as time went on, his disabilities of like just like his body was becoming decrepit. He lost his arm and deteriorating. So not only did he have to act in this character role, but also then have to act with all the disabilities, and then also how does that affect him in like his assertion as king? Every single time he was on screen, I absolutely loved it. So I felt myself always enjoying his scenes the most. So I do have to agree with you on this one.
What about you, Philip? Like, do you agree? So, because I have nothing to add to it because King Viserys was my favorite character as well.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Copycat.
did you? are you joining the Big Daddy V?
Again, I do agree.
Yeah.
All his stuff was
Big
incredible.
Daddy
like,
V.
Big Daddy V. I love that.
I do.
Talk about connotations.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about incest?
Yes, God.
Let's not go there yet.
Dude.
No, seriously,
Yes.
I am interested. Like,
No. To me, and this is probably going to seem out of left field, but one, the time jumps screwed with me. I
was going to ask that question.
Yeah,
later,
I wasn't a huge fan of those, or I get why, but whatever.
We'll talk about that next.
But for me, the one that I think, as far as like the way that it tagged along, was Aemond. And like how much he just took it all so much to heart.
is he the one with the eye patch?
Yes.
Okay.
And so just how much he
Crispin Glover.
just hated every bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it drove, you could see it drive his character.
Yeah.
To where like, okay, I might seem like this little weak kid, but when we jump 10 years, like I'm the fighter. I'm the new Daemon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And not only am I Daemon, I'm Daemon upgraded.
Yeah.
And
the
I've got an
next
eye
generation.
patch.
Yeah.
And I got the biggest fucking dragon
biggest dragon
ever.
And that still wasn't enough
Yeah.
for him.
Mm.
And so like it drove it, like that to me was a really cool thing to watch. Like, and then you talk about, okay, Daddy V does this great
Big Daddy V.
Big Daddy V.
How
does-
dare you
Yes, I'm sorry.
degrade his name?
I apologize.
Your Grace.
You're great. You're great. You're great, Big Daddy
Yes.
V.
Hey, Big Daddy V.
I
Hey,
do
can I play
believe.
with your Legos?
Oh my gosh, his Lego set.
Can I play with your miniatures?
It was so adorable. I was like, look at you. It's so nice.
Well, have y'all heard the ties to So they think the ending credits of Game of Thrones. They think those miniatures are his.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy.
The Game of
like-
Thrones opening credits is King Viserys' Lego set.
Yeah, the end credits.
The end credit.
The end
That's
credits,
cool.
yeah.
That's
So it-
cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I choose to believe that.
That's a fan theory, right? But I believe
Yeah.
it as well. But even after that, after the final dinner, the Last Supper,
Yeah.
like who stands up and makes it a thing? Like Aemon does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and he's backhanding in this toast because he just can't let it go.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love that about him. And I loved, no spoilers, anybody.
No, we're a spoiler
But
podcast.
I think
At
we've
that-
already.
After he's just lost control of his dragon, the look on his face and what he knows he just did.
Yeah. And it wasn't on purpose.
And it wasn't on purpose, and that's not what he was trying to do. And you can see that all over him. And
I couldn't
love that.
believe, to talk about that
Love
scene.
that.
I was like, oh, he's just tormenting him.
Right.
He's just being a bully.
Yeah.
I get it. It's what he did, So I'm like, cool, I get it.
Yeah.
And then also the camera panned and there was the downshift. I was like,
oh no,
here it comes.
Yeah,
Jump.
Yeah. Oh, as soon as Rhaenyra says bye to the, I can't remember what her son.
Was it Jeffrey?
It was Jace or Luke. I can't remember which one it was.
It was Aegon. Wait, no, that joke doesn't work because she actually has an Aegon son. Oh God.
No, it
Whichever-
has to be Luke because she sent the two older.
Yes.
Yeah.
The two older,
yeah.
and Luke was the younger one.
Which
of
one of the
two.
younger
Yes.
ones?
When
Yeah.
she tells him bye and she's like, "Oh no, nothing will happen to you. It'll be super peaceful." I looked at my wife and I was like, "Well, he's dead.
Yeah, hey, this is Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
lady.
You're gone, dude.
Yeah.
Go home, bro."
Yeah, go to this wedding. Nothing bad ever happens
Yeah.
at weddings
At
in
a
Game of Thrones.
wedding.
Well, in this one, it's have birth.
Right.
Oh.
Have birth.
Well, gosh.
The most learning to speak English phrase of all time. You have birth.
Well, and we haven't talked about it, as funny as this is. We haven't talked about Aegon.
Sorry, which one?
The younger Aegon, which I thought it was interesting because that scene where we're kind of introduced to him. And he's like standing in the window, like jerking off out into the peasants.
No, so the older Aegon,
Aegon, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is and of course,
David Tennant's son.
I don't know if you noticed this, but 200 years later, during the Game of Thrones show, that's where King Tommen was,
Jumps out.
Yeah.
where he jumps out of the window.
It's King's Landing.
And I saw my favorite internet meme I've ever seen for the show, and it was Aegon skeeted where Tommen yeeted.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, "That you gotta watch the show to get that joke."
Yeah. Okay, so going to that scene, which makes me think of like all the other. Do you think? All right, HBO obviously has their like shock value scenes for every one of their shows because it's like this is HBO. We're gonna
rated R.
Yeah, like it's rated MA, and we're gonna do something that's too.
Here's this famous person's butthole.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just like why? Do you think? So, like Philip and I were talking on the way over here. The original Game of Thrones series had gore and it had nudity and it had scenes, but they always kind of felt in place.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Do you think that in the season 1 of House of the Dragon that any of these scenes felt like, hey, we need to put something in there just to make it just because it's HBO. It's not on TNT. We need to put it in there.
I got two.
I got
scenes.
like 8.
I know
like 8.
Yeah, but there's two scenes
Really?
that immediately jump out to me. So in the first episode, the C-section birth scene.
Yes.
Right.
Was maybe one of the most graphic things
It's like,
I
why?
have ever
Why?
seen on television. And I think I don't think there was a level of like we need to top like what's his name that got his dick cut off in the first one.
Theon.
Theon
Greyjoy.
Yeah, Theon.
Oh, gosh.
And they don't really show it. They just have the sausage scene.
But you know what? I felt it when I was watching.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah. Look, but if it really was my dick that got chopped off, yeah, dip it in some spicy mustard. That's what I'd want. Eat it with some spicy mustard. I don't know. Maybe it's just a Jew in me that loves some good like Jewish deli mustard. But
Little Creole.
Good use at least.
yeah. If you're gonna eat it, at least can you enjoy it? Tell me it tasted good.
Does anyone need a dick transplant? Is there a list for that?
A little Creole seasoning and call it a day.
some Old Bay.
Yeah.
Is this Chicago style or New York style? I
Where's
don't know.
my celery salt?
Yeah.
What the hell were you even saying, Owen?
So there's that, and then the other big scene, which I'm glad that someone's bringing it up, I guess, because I did want to talk about it. So it's me. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm a little drunk. Was for the feet lover out there.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Laris Clubfoot stronghold scene.
Yeah.
Lara Strong.
That scene and then
The Quentin Tarantino scene.
What what the fuck?
It was so awkward and uncomfortable.
I was like, oh, they're gonna fuck, and then she just takes off her shoes. I was like,
Puts
this
her feet
is
on the
worse.
table.
This is
This
worse.
is way worse.
This is worse.
Right.
And then, all right, so there was that scene. There was the Rhaenyra giving birth scene, and then you hear the
Yeah.
baby hit the ground.
Oh yeah.
We don't need that.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
she had 2 baby giving birth scenes.
Yeah.
One was the baby who didn't live, and one was the one who
Yes.
did. Yeah.
And it's like there are so many other ways to get those points across without going to that level of like if I'm turning my head at a show,
Yeah.
you've gone too far.
Well, okay. So here's where I would counter that.
Okay.
Because as I'm watching it, it was so gruesome and so it was. We do need to mention the birthing horror, right? Like that. It was birthing horror, right?
Yes, 100%.
And there was like 3 or 4 scenes
Yeah.
in 10 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot,
Yeah.
right? And one of them is like the opening scene, right? But the reason I thought that it was appropriate is as tough as it was to watch was, especially when we're talking about in the context of like gender roles and patriarchal societies, we see that, the men, they fight their battles with swords out on the battlefield and they're spilling their guts out on the battlefield. But this one showed the battle that women were fighting, for generations, where it's like, because it was truly deadly. It was deadly to them. It was deadly to their babies.
Well put.
And
That is well put.
and no one gave a shit about them either.
Yeah.
Like that scene where Rhaenyra gives birth and then immediately gets up and walks to the queen.
And that's a oneer.
Right.
They did that all in one
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
like
Yeah.
I
Crazy.
felt like, dude, Rhaenyra is a badass,
No
man.
doubt.
So any other thing, it's like, oh, when you get people's like giving birth you're a badass if you give birth, and I'm like, yeah, come on. But this show, well,
To all the women out there, I am not like that.
well, because I've never experienced that myself. My
Yeah,
wife
yeah,
obviously had kids, but this was the first time where I watched this and I was like, dude, to see the struggle of it, and you have no modern amenities, no modern medical, and then you get up and you walk through the red keep, and I'm like, you know what, man, you are a badass.
Yes,
like
right.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, this is gross, but
and to get a
man.
little history on you here too. I mean, if we go back even 100 years, the death rate of giving birth, like the survival rate of giving birth was like near 50-50.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so
Yeah.
you have to think about that. Like, we in today's context have modern medicine.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
It's so much
less
safer,
than 10% of women die while giving birth now. I think it's even smaller.
It's got to
than
be
that.
way smaller.
It's maybe like even 3%.
I don't know what the real number is.
Yeah, but it's like back in the day, like before modern medicine and like penicillin and like washing your hands was known to be a thing.
Right.
Like 50-50, like women would die, like giving birth. So it's like this is something that's like, oh shit. Like this is why like the midwives and the maesters were so respected. It's because they could actually keep the woman alive during it.
Yeah.
Not C-sections, obviously. But,
Yeah,
you know.
it was hard to watch, and it's interesting that we brought this up about the shock value, because when I remember thinking like the original Game of Thrones, it had these really graphic nudity and sex scenes, and it was known for that. People knew Game of Thrones was almost like softcore porn. You're like, geez, man,
Right.
and people talked about that, but we saw this shift in culture, right? We saw kind of like Me Too movement and people thinking about things differently. And what I thought was interesting, and maybe I was the only one who saw it this way, but I'm watching House of the Dragon and I'm like, you know what? They don't have nearly as much of that, like just women taking their clothes off and being sexy. Like, here's my vagina. It's like it was way more subdued. Like there was less nudity.
But
than
the
Game
scenes
of
that
Thrones.
they did it. I mean, there's
Oh,
like
yeah. It was
in
like-
the whorehouse with Daemon and Aegon and Aegon and Daenerys.
When all the
and
Aegons
Daenerys.
were there having that orgy.
Yeah. The Aegon orgy was really surprising.
The egg orgy.
Egg orgy. Fuck you for thinking of that. So good.
We're gonna drive this joke into the ground.
100%. There is, but Phil, you brought it up, and I do want to talk about it because one of the most divisive things, besides are you Hightower or Targaryen, is the time skips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys feel about? Because there was 3 time skips, right?
Nope.
Two?
It's a trivia question, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay, all right.
Gee, I forgot we were doing trivia.
Yeah.
I'm into this conversation.
Yeah. Well, so then I won't ask that question, but how did you guys overall feel about the time skips?
At first, I hated it.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I absolutely hated it because it was kind of like I'm getting to know these characters. I'm getting to know like how these things are working, and then you just changed it.
Yeah.
Like
these are different people.
These are different people. Their characters are acting differently, which is obvious. They're older. They've been through more. They've done, 10 years is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole thing at first, I hated it. We got a couple more episodes in, and I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you're doing. I still don't like it, but I get why that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And then of course then you get to know those characters and those things like that. But at first it was almost too much too fast, like too much of a change.
Yeah.
All at one time for me.
Yeah. It's like this season was like a history book.
Right.
Which is interesting because the scope is smaller than Game of Thrones in the sense that we spend almost all of our time at the Red Keep, it's like just the king and his family. Whereas Game of Thrones, you're all over the place,
Yeah.
But in the sense the scope is even larger because we're skipping through time. And it almost seemed impossible because Daemon was the same actor throughout. Like Rhaenys was the same actor. Like a lot of these people were the same actor throughout. But of course, Rhaenyra and Alicent, they had different actors. But one thing I thought was, especially with Alicent, I thought that was the same woman. Like I was like, you guys look so much like you look like an older version of that younger actress.
I will say, even with Rhaenyra though, even the two Rhaenyras were spot on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And they were great. They were both great. I thought they were both great. And like, I don't know, like the casting person in this show had to just have a hell of a time,
Yeah, Matt, what did you think about the time skips though?
So for me, the way I always look at like stories, and if you're writing or whatever, you start it when if you have to go back 20 years to tell something, then you do it in a flashback or you do it in some other way in the middle of the story. You start when the action starts. And if the action starts 35 years or I don't know, however long.
Sorry, we're not talking about Boba Fett.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
This isn't a Mandalorian podcast? Oh, I need to go then. I need to go. Sorry, guys.
No, because honestly, what you're saying is what everyone was complaining about with Boba Fett. Flashbacks.
And then in Boba Fett, when Aegon walks in, you're like, what is happening here?
All right, Patton Oswalt.
This is getting out of hand.
This is too much. It's a Wookiee and an Aegon.
Is Aegon riding the Wookiee?
Yeah.
Are Wookiees just the dragons of Star Wars?
There we go.
That's the question we're trying to get into tonight.
That's it. No, but like it started when the action starts. And then if you need to give me a little bit of backstory, give me a little bit of backstory, but don't give me, one episode and then skip forward 4 years and then give me another episode and skip forward 10 years. It's like, just tell me that stuff.
Yeah.
If it wasn't that,
Well, apparently too, so with Game of Thrones, it's like George R. R. Martin wrote those books. Like it's the novel of this story.
Yes.
And that's where the show came from.
Right.
Whereas with House of the Dragon, apparently the book that it's based on is not like a novel.
It's not. It's like a history book.
It's like a history book. So a lot of the showrunners, and I haven't read the book, so I can't really say, but from what I understand, the showrunners were writing a lot of the dialogue and a lot of 100%. The characterization, And so it seemed like a really tough thing to do. Like, how do you adapt that kind of book? And it definitely wasn't perfect.
It's the same problem Rings of Power had.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of issues with
Oh,
Rings of Power.
man.
Are we coming back for another episode?
This is going to be our first 3-hour episode.
But it's the same type of thing. They had a history book, and then they had to kind of grab all these different points and put them together.
How do you adapt it?
How do you adapt it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and for me, it was a lot too. Like Rhaenyra, like how is she handling these? Like, so now she's married to somebody who's obviously homosexual and doesn't even want anything to really do
we haven't
with that.
even
And then
mentioned that.
Yeah.
Right. So but you've got, so that storyline is there and those things are starting to happen and then you leave it. And so it's like you get to this, like, we're going to kind of do our own thing and whatever. But what happened? Wait, hold on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, his one guy died. Okay, we got that part. But how did y'all maneuver that as you're going to be the queen, and so you have this and then you skip from it. And it's like, I wanted to know how that went, though. And so there's a lot of that for me.
And I thought that was brilliant too, where Rhaenyra, who is the heir, and she's married someone who has darker skin, and her kids have light skin.
Yeah.
and dark hair.
You know,
yeah.
and I thought that was brilliant because I don't know if the Valerians have darker skin in the books. I'm not sure.
They don't.
But I thought that was a
The
beautiful
Valerians
way of
or
portraying
Valerian steel. I'm a little
I know,
which
right?
one
It's Aegonian.
Aegonian steel. And that's one of the issues I also had with the show. It's just like
The
you
name,
all suddenly
yeah.
try to introduce all these new houses, and some of them are relevant to the original houses of Game of Thrones, and a lot of them have the fucking like one vowel off.
Yeah,
this is my issue with Harry Potter, right? Like it's like I'm like
This has nothing to do with
abracadabra is the death spell in Harry Potter. And he was like, no, it's Avada Kedavra. Cool. Let's talk about House of Dragons and all the stupid fucking last names and how they're all the exact fucking same.
They have different letters occasionally.
So it's really the same thing. Yeah. I mean, that was I was like, oh, I have so many new houses I need to learn. And I'm like, wait, is this Valerian? Valeron? Huh?
Yeah. Well, okay, so many scenes. We haven't even really gotten into this. So many characters. Like, what is...
We're an hour into the podcast, and Brandon's like, we haven't really even got into this.
All right, we're ready to
7
start.
hours later, we're like, all right, so we capped episode 1.
Now this episode. But of all that's happened, what was like your favorite scene? Like, what was the one that just like jumped out at you that you were like, this is it, man. This is the show. And that's a tough question because I know as soon as I say that, you guys are like really deep. I have an answer.
I have an answer. So,
and I think we're probably the same answer.
Ooh, Matt, you already got one? You want to go first?
No, y'all go first.
Okay, I got one. So for me, I struggled the entire season up until this moment with Damon. Like I said, Matt Smith, great actor, loved the character. I mean, morally, he's kind of fucking weird.
He starts out as like an asshole and then he becomes a murderer.
Right. Yeah, he's an asshole, a good guy to murder.
That
but
part.
that scene when they're doing the whole War of the Isles, what was that?
Out on the beach and stuff.
Out on the beach and stuff like that, where it's just you finally see where Damon's at. He's a warrior.
He is
he's a fucking warrior, and he is so sick and tired of this back and forth political bullshit.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck this, I'm gonna go end it right now.
The crab feeder.
Yeah, and he goes against the crab feeder, and he's like,
he risks his own life.
He knows he's the bait to make this happen.
Yeah.
But like that scene, was just so visually beautiful. Was that whole entire fight scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice that his character made, I think during that was really great, and I think that was also a very growing up moment for him. Damon,
it was heroic.
Yes, Damon.
They
to
showed
that
him as a
moment,
murderer, and then all of a sudden they show him as a hero, and you're like, I don't know what to feel.
He also became a murderer again.
Yeah.
Twice over.
I was gonna say a couple more times.
A couple more times. But up until that moment, Damon's character very much acted like a boy. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He
like
was
impulsive.
He was impulsive. He was jealous of his older brother and the right that his older brother had that he felt he deserved because he's the warrior, and Viserys is the peaceful one. And then eventually you get that next episode where he comes back wearing a throne from the crab eater, and he gives that the crown. Sorry, not throne. The crown of the crab eater, and he then gives it to his brother as a sign of respect. Was a very big moment.
Yeah.
I think, you see that moment where he's like, this is my brother. I need to honor and respect him. Obviously, he still has games that he is up to, but I think that was a very big moment. So, like, that whole scene to story arc finish for Daemon, I think was
wild.
Was wild
very
outside of everything already said about Viserys. So, I think for me, if that would definitely be it.
Good.
Nice. What? So, Philip, you said the same.
So I was going to go there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to my number 2 though, because when all the things are going on and the high towers are kind of like working behind the scenes to make sure that the Alicent's Aegon.
Yeah. The green Aegon.
Yes.
Yeah.
When Viserys is sick, like they're trying to make sure that before all that happens, they can kind of put some things in place and do some of that kind of stuff. And he makes that walk.
Oh!
Viserys makes that walk into
the throne room.
I forgot about that.
And you can just tell how, like,
with the mask on,
with the mask on, and how decrepit he is.
He's barely alive.
He's barely walking, but he knows I have to make sure that I shut this down now.
Now,
Yes.
I am the king, and I need people to know it.
I'm going to tell you what I've already said. I'm going to make sure that his claim is right. And if that means I die on the way there, I'm going to do it. But I also loved how like how far that escalated in that scene, and then how Damon just takes care of it.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
And the crown falls off of his head, and Damon picks it up and puts it back on. King Daddy V.
That was an improvised scene, actually.
Yes, it was. It was. I remember that.
So,
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So the crown was not meant to fall off, and they just went with it.
That's
so
brilliant.
Matt Smith picked it up, and they're like, "This is great." And then they added that into the script, and then like did the scene a few times.
That whole scene from start to finish, because you know all the things that have gone around on like they're about to do this. They're about to take the claim from the kid. Like all this stuff's about to happen, and it's going to roll over so that Aegon becomes kind of now we're trusting the Hightowers. Now we see we're getting
started their coup already.
Everything was rolling, and then he decrepitly walks in.
Yes.
And I love this is HBO too. That scene took forever.
It was long.
It was forever, but you knew like that's probably how it felt.
Yeah.
I mean, in the moment, if he's going to make that walk.
That's one thing HBO does that hardly any other television production companies do is they give scenes time to breathe.
Yes.
Way more time to breathe.
Don't rush it.
It means so much more.
A lot of times, because I think, what is it? Right now, the average is like every single 1.8 to 2.3 seconds in cinema there's a camera change.
Yeah.
And HBO still kind of does it. And it's to the point where now if you let a scene linger for 5 to 6 seconds, it's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
But it's like impactful.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny that you said it because that was my favorite scene was King Viserys walking across the throne room and sitting on the throne. And all he does, all the scene is he's just walking across the room.
Yeah.
But because the whole show had done all this character development that they didn't need to say anything. There was nothing dramatic that they did or nothing like shocking that they did. They had done so much character development that you knew the meaning and the power behind him walking across the room and sitting on the throne. And then Damon putting the crown on his head. Brilliant, man. I was almost in tears. I was just like, look at you, man. You're doing it for your daughter, man. You do it, Daddy.
And what about you, Matt?
All right, so I was going to go with a foot scene, but that may be awkward. So
check out. Now I know a little bit more about you and your wife's life than I ever wanted to know.
Matt Tarantino.
No, I think
wiggle your big toe.
Wiggle big toe. I'll always be faithful to you and your feet.
I'll go. I mean, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier was The Last Supper. To me, that entire scene was so well put together, so well done, so well acted. Phenomenal. If I don't go with that one, I think I go with Rhaenyra. I want to say it was episode 2 where she goes to Damon. Damon takes the egg, the dragon egg. She goes back
to Dragonstone.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's like, "Give it up. Give it up." And he gives it up. And I think in that moment you realize how powerful she is and how persuasive she is, even though she's young.
And also how much Damon
respects her
and likes her, like
loves her.
Well, loves her. But even just on like, you can tell in those first couple episodes that like he kind of cherishes that relationship. Like even if it's not sexual in the beginning, like this is my niece.
There is a love.
For sure.
I mean, but the Targaryens in and of themselves are,
for sure.
I mean, I was just thinking this. We should have had like the Marvin Gaye, "Let's get it on" sound clip for this episode.
There's a lot of moments like and that's what's funny because I feel like we're ready to go into trivia and we haven't talked about the romance between her and her uncle. We haven't talked about Sir Kristen Cole and the crazy or the we talked about Lara Strong, but Sir Harwin Strong.
Lord Corlys,
which
also one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. So like it's funny because I feel like people listening to this episode and like we've talked about the show, but you could still actually sit down and watch the season, and like we didn't even touch on so much of it.
Isn't it crazy
what I love about it? That, like, there's so much happening.
It's thick, man.
So I'm gonna ask one last question, and this is a real question. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. Before we go into trivia, a lot of times I say that.
Or Aegon.
Who would you rather fuck, Aegon or Aegon? No, but the question is, what to you was one of the most like visually, because this show, the cinematography, the CGI and everything, it was visually stunning. Do you guys have a moment or a scene that just kind of sticks out as like, holy shit, this is beautiful.
I have several.
I've got.
Go ahead.
So when King Viserys takes off his mask, Viserys, I have to say his name.
Well, you can't laugh at him for
Aegon.
No, it's just okay. Sorry. Yeah.
When
It's like visceral Viserys. He took his mask off.
Viserys.
It was visceral.
King Daddy V.
Yeah,
Big Daddy V takes off. When he takes off that mask, and you're like, oh, is that Skeletor?
Right.
Yes.
To
It was
me,
gross.
That was, I mean, it was that, but it
Crazy.
looked real.
It did.
You're sitting there going, oh.
Shit.
Is that makeup? Is that CGI? Is it a combo? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the dragons in the rain.
Ooh.
Like just
Oh, yeah.
yeah. just
Philip,
how-
you and I are just on
we're
fucking
on it,
point
dude,
tonight.
yes.
Oh,
And even because it's so like there's so much of a change when he goes up through the clouds,
yeah.
and you just get this like wide spectrum, and it looks like this little dragon. Like it doesn't comparatively, it doesn't look like and
Yeah. Well, compared to the other dragon.
It
Yeah.
is.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
But like one, just like the clarity of the moment, because it's easy in those times, storms and stuff, to lose things, lose character, lose reaction, lose some of that.
Mhm.
But you could see all over his face, both of them. Both of them, you could
And it's
see
scary.
the like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're feeling what he's feeling.
absolutely.
So mine is the
Beautiful.
scene right beforehand when the young, strong kid, Luke or whatever, lands.
Little baby
And
Targaryen.
it's he's in the keep. The rainstorm's coming, and then the lightning and thunder flash, and in the background you see the dragon come up and roar.
And you're like,
So
oops.
I was like,
good.
oh, he's dead. But
I'm
also
nervous.
just visually, that scene was so because they could
was
have had
ominous.
it where he lands and the dragon's there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they
No.
purposely chose this. Where it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
he thinks he's safe. He thinks he's on his mother's mission.
Right.
He like walks up and then it's raining. The lightning comes in and boom,
There he
ominous,
is.
foreboding,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it was just visually stunning, and it gave me chills.
It was so
Love it.
okay. Go back to the scene. It's so Shakespearean. Like when Romeo and Juliet starts, that sonnet at the beginning of Romeo and Juliet basically says, "Hey, they're going to commit suicide."
Yeah.
And you know how it's going to end, but the entire time you're watching the play or you're reading it, you're going, "I don't think that's really going to happen. There's no way that's
Yeah,
going to happen."
no.
And then when it happens, it still hits you. For his mom,
It's so
to say-
impactful.
Yeah, for his mom to say what she said, like, "Hey, it's going to be easy. You're good. You're going to come
they
home safe."
foreshadowed what's going to happen. We knew it.
100%.
We knew it.
We
Yeah.
all knew it, and you're like, oh, but maybe it's not going to happen. And then you're like, the flash happens, and you're like, oh, it's going to happen.
yeah, he's dead.
But maybe it's
how?
not going to happen. And then
right.
you're like, oh God.
It
Well, because
draws
even
out
in
that dread.
Yes,
that you
even
feel.
yes.
in that scene, when they've already said no,
Yeah.
like we're siding, we're siding
With your enemy.
with your enemy,
Yeah.
and they start to go at it kind of with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time it's like, oh, he's going to do it right here.
Yeah.
Like, this is how this is going to end, and then he leaves, and you're like, oh,
They
maybe
keep
not.
giving you this false sense
I know,
of
like,
hope.
maybe not, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, for me, like this might sound weird because I was going to say
It's a foot scene for you too. It's a foot scene.
it was Aegon jerking off in the window. I was like, it's such a character moment.
Yeah.
I relate to that.
I relate to it. Oh, that's good.
You guys don't do that in the sunshine?
Not in the window. You don't do it out in
You
the
don't do that. My
No
neighbors hate
wonder
me.
why you have a 2-story house.
No, my favorite scene was probably episode 1, like visually, was the tournament.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Because they showed all these knights in their beautiful armor and they're fighting in this tournament, but they also showed King's Landing, but this was King's Landing at the height. This was when they were prospering, the height of their
Yeah.
prosperity. Because when you watch Game of Thrones, like the kingdom had been falling apart for generations.
Yeah.
But this is the 7 kingdoms at the height of its prosperity, and it was beautiful. It was, and that was the first time where I ever thought, I would kind of want to live in King's Landing,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
because you don't in Game of Thrones. But it was just the Colosseum and all that stuff and all the armor was just fun to watch. I was
So,
nerding out.
I just realized something. We're recording this Sunday night, and Last of Us.
Oh, is it coming out tonight?
It just released.
Oh, okay.
So can we get to trivia so I can go watch it?
He's got shows to watch.
I got so many shows.
It's trivia time.
So
All right.
many people ask me why we didn't do the trivia music for the intro outro because it's such a banger. But I'm like, that's why it's the trivia music.
But our intro and outro music is
it's
fun.
great. But yeah,
But the trivia music is
the
fun
trivia,
too.
it's great. So it's a glorious day at House Landsberg.
You are so consistent. You know that, Owen?
Because Brando has to spin the wheel of shit.
You know what? I think I'm over this.
You keep saying that every single time you spin it.
All right.
So go ahead.
all right, I'll
Give
do
us a little spinny spin.
Dumb thing. Why did we come up with this idea? Southern accent.
All right.
easy.
Go ahead and do your Franklin accent.
This is my D&D character. Hey y'all, I made a little gnome who's a monk who's based on Dolly Parton, and that's what I play in D&D, and I have a little fun with it.
So
It's
for the
nice.
rest of the show, he has to talk in that accent.
I love it.
And I had the pirate accent last time. I even did the outro in the pirate accent.
Sure,
So.
I'll totally do that
All right.
because it matters so much.
Yes, it does. Yeah. It is a punishment, and you have agreed to it. You're contractually
Okay.
obligated.
Okay.
All right, boys, go ahead and give us the first trivia question.
Nervous.
Question 1, and we will give you.
Every answer I'm going to give is Aegon, by the way.
Well, that's a wrap.
Could
You
be
won.
right. Yeah, it could be
It's
right.
like selecting
actually.
C on all of your exams.
All right. What was the overall production budget for season 1, or per episode?
Ooh.
All right, so where's your southern accent? You're already failing. You didn't
Southern
say-
people say ooh.
Not like that. You didn't.
They say, "Oh,
Oh, my.
Was that sweet tea?
Oh Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Bless your heart. I have a guess. I have a guess.
I have
gonna-
a guess too, but I'm gonna guess per episode.
I have a guess for both.
All right.
You go first.
All right. I'm gonna guess it was 50 million per episode.
Oh, I was gonna say 100 million overall and 10 million per episode is what my guess was.
The answer is 200 million or 20 million per episode.
I was wrong.
Are we doing closest?
Yeah, you get a point.
I
sure.
get a point.
Yeah.
We make up these rules as we go along.
Yeah. I thought for sure. I mean, like, Lord of the Rings, Power of the Pocketbook
Oh, right.
was like $1 billion, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Rings of Bezos.
Rings
Yeah.
of Bezos.
Rings
yeah.
of Bezos. that's
Rings
it.
of failing Bezos.
But that is still more than season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Which is crazy.
Wait,
Yeah.
House of the Dragon was?
Yes,
Yeah.
by a
Wow.
lot. I think it was like double what the last
Yeah.
season of Game of
You can
Thrones was.
tell though, man.
You can.
You
Yeah.
can.
You absolutely can.
Question 2. In what country?
Wait. They've synced this. You realize like one asks the question, the other one asks the question. This is you guys didn't have to talk about it. This
It's
is
like
great.
it's almost like we're
You guys are
Yeah,
like real
professional.
podcasters.
We're on a
Yeah.
podcast.
I just have like a
ourselves.
proud moment as like the host of this podcast. Like, look at our guests; they're fucking awesome.
I love how you're treating our show like it's real. It's only my mom listening.
All right, Philip, go ahead. What's the second question?
In what country was the show primarily filmed in?
Oh man.
Oh shit! I have 2 guesses.
We could allow 2.
Yeah,
I'm trying. No,
Okay.
no.
Well,
I'm
then
gonna narrow it down.
Then I have 2. I'll have 2.
You have
then.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Brando, you go first.
My first guess would be Ireland.
You have in Southern accent.
Ireland. I don't know how they would say that word.
Ireland and
My second guess would be Greece.
so I'm gonna guess Scotland or Iceland.
Where 4 guesses and they're all
all wrong.
All wrong.
Okay, well, so the answer is the United Kingdom.
Oh,
So
okay.
Scotland would technically kind of fall into that
Wait,
realm.
Did they film in Scotland though? Or we
it
don't
just
know?
says United Kingdom.
I'm taking a
I-
point.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I said Ireland. Isn't that in the UK?
Yeah, that actually is part of the UK. I forgot about
is it
that.
part of the UK?
My my geography teacher in our public school was not good, bro.
All right, hold on. Google.
I got no
Is
clue.
Ireland
Was it filmed in
a
Westeros?
part of the UK?
Your boy thought the United Kingdom was a country.
What?
England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern
I was gonna.
Ireland.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
So was
That's
it
what I
filmed
said.
in Northern or Southern Ireland?
probably because Game of Thrones was primarily filmed in Northern
okay,
Ireland.
all right.
So
Okay.
we can
All right,
benefit
primarily
of the
UK.
doubt.
Next question. I called this one previous connection with a previous star.
Okay.
Which House of the Dragon actor or actress starred opposite of Game of Thrones star Emilia Clarke in 2015's Terminator Genesis?
You mean one of the worst movies of all time?
You referenced the one that no one has seen.
It's terrible. I've seen it, and it's terrible.
Was Arnold Schwarzenegger in this show?
No, that was the reboot of... No, that's a movie. It was the reboot of the movie.
Was he in House of the Dragons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, say the question again.
Which House of the Dragon actor or actress starred opposite of Game of Thrones star Emilia Clarke in 2015's Terminator Genesis? So Daenerys.
Daenerys, yeah. Daenerys Targaryen was
one
Sarah
of the House
Connor.
of the Dragon people were in the Terminator movie.
Correct.
Throw him a bone.
No.
Okay.
Is it
Okay.
I'm going to ask for a bone to be thrown.
Phone a friend?
Yeah.
All right, I'll narrow it down.
Just say.
It's an actor.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's an actor.
It's not an actress.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember who played John Connor, but he's not in this. I'm trying to remember who played the other guy.
Who? Kyle Reese?
No, not even. Oh wait, was it Kyle Reese? No, because it takes place modern time. This one I fucking don't know.
I don't
Genesis.
even know if I saw that
Got a guess?
movie.
you want? Yeah, let's take a guess.
I'll take a guess.
I don't remember his name, but can I give you the character that he
Sure,
plays in the
sure.
show? All right, Brando, go first.
Was Damon the guy who plays Damon?
No, it's not Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. Okay.
It's Sir Christian Cole. The guy who plays Sir Christian Cole. I don't know.
It is Matt Smith.
Wait, Matt Smith?
Oh!
Matt Smith is in Genesis?
That was a total guess. What was his role?
Wait,
Do we know
I
what it
have
was?
No clue. I was not going to watch to find out.
Yeah, who cares?
Because they even spelled it weird.
If it was more than your mom watching or listening, I would have looked.
Matt Smith is the T-5000 in it? What is
What?
No, I'm not counting
He's
this
a
question.
Terminator?
He's a Terminator in it.
He's a Terminator, he's a vampire, and he's a Targaryen?
Yeah. No, look, this movie ceases to exist in my world. This question is null and void.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm good. Matt Smith. Go ahead and ask the next
All
question.
right. Mysaria, who leads a network of spies in King's Landing, also goes by what name?
This is in House of the
In
Dragon.
House of the Dragon. Her character.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh, what did they call her? Oh, I know exactly
oh my
who
God,
you're talking
he is in Terminator Genesis.
Looking up IMDb. We're on the next
No,
question.
I'm now looking at a photo of him. The IMDb said he was in the movie. He's like, I don't believe you. So I actually now see a photo of him in the movie.
And he was a Terminator.
He was something.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, I'll,
Okay.
All good. Mysaria, who leads a network of spies in King's Landing, also goes by what name?
Wait, I think I know. I think I know
I think I know this one too. I'll go on this one. It's the Queen of Whispers.
I was going to say Sparrow.
That would be the White Worm.
Oh.
The
Yeah,
White
yeah.
Worm.
I remember she did wear like white clothing, like they
yeah.
had her, and
Yeah.
Because what was it? What was his name? Was the
and that was his, because that was his romantic
eunuch of
relationship.
Yeah.
children?
Mhm.
Spider.
The spy. What was the guy in the Game of Thrones?
Spider.
Was he Spider?
No.
The bald guy.
The bald guy, the eunuch.
That was
He
Spider.
he was the
He was the master of spies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What was his name? I don't think it was the Spider though, was it?
I thought that's what his nickname was. 'Cause he had Littlefinger,
We're gonna have to look that
and
up.
then he was
Yeah.
the Spider.
Let's look that one up.
I
and
think
then
we're
you
gonna
had-
skip the next question. It might be too difficult.
Then you had the Nazi from
no, you can't do that to
Okay,
us.
all
Go
right, all
ahead.
right.
Well, the other guy was the Nazi from Indiana Jones, the guy who chose poorly.
Oh yeah.
The at the end of
Yeah.
Raiders or Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the same guy.
chose
Wow.
poorly.
Yeah.
Here's your next question. How old is King Viserys in the books versus how old Paddy Considine is while portraying him in the show? So what's the age gap there?
Okay. I have a guess for the actor. I think. Yeah, I have a guess for the actor.
He's
Do you have?
Are you Googling it over there?
No, I'm googling
Are
the
you still-
Viserys thing. Viserys
okay.
called the Spider. Yeah,
Okay,
Brandon,
yeah,
you were
all right.
right.
Yeah,
Too bad that
well
wasn't a
done.
trivia question.
Yeah.
Else I'd give you a
Oh.
point.
The Indiana Jones thing. Do I get any points for that? I'm really good at that movie. Can we do trivia from that movie?
Look, Brando, if this was a real live Indiana Jones moment, you would choose the jeweled cup. All right.
No, I would choose wisely. The The actor and the character.
The actor and the character. Okay.
Well, I haven't read the book, so it'll be a guess for the character.
Are you saying when he dies? How old is he? Because we can.
Sure.
Yeah, when he dies. Okay.
I'll go first. I think the actor is like 60. And I would say the character, I bet he's younger. I bet he's like 50.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess the king is gonna be 55 and the actor is gonna be 52.
So in the books, he's 30.
Whoa!
No way.
He's 30?
When he dies?
Well,
Rhaenyra is 8 when the books start.
Whoa!
well, think about Damon. Think about what Damon looks like.
Yeah, they
When-
keep
when-
Matt Smith the entire time.
Well, right, but I mean, it's because it was more of like what was eating away at Viserys than it was
Yeah.
his age.
So Patty is 50.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Yeah.
We were way off.
I
You
just-
got
I know
close.
him from
That's why we should have
Buzz.
skipped
You
that
said
question.
52. You got.
All right.
I think you earned a point
Okay,
there.
fair
Yeah,
enough.
Sure.
I'll take
All
it.
right, here's one that might be a little more easier. Since apparently,
Thank you for throwing this
we
about.
went to.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Here's
Aegon! It's Aegon!
One, here's one that's for you
Yeah.
guys.
Name a Targaryen.
Yes,
Elon. No shit.
all right.
Name a
who-
white kid born in 2012. Brayden. Caden.
Brayden, Caden, and Jaden.
All right. Who is known as the sea snake?
Oh yeah, I know this one.
I know it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Corlys.
Yeah, Lord
Valerian.
Corlys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Got
You
it.
kind of. I wouldn't kind of pause and let you answer first.
Do we trust him?
I don't know if that's.
I literally said he's one of my favorite characters earlier. Lord Corlys. Yeah. All right.
He was a great
Yes.
character too. We didn't even talk
I
about
paused
know,
for
he's
the
a
podcast
fantastic
sake because you
character.
have multiple people talking. It's
Sure.
kind of hard, right?
I agree.
That's
Yeah.
why.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's
totally.
why.
Can I watch The Last of Us now?
3 more questions.
Yeah, okay. Rapid fire. Let's go.
Condal and Miguel Sapochnik,
Those are words.
the House of the Dragon showrunners,
Okay.
Okay.
won an Emmy Award for directing which Game of Thrones episode?
Ooh, can we get a season?
That won't help me.
It may be too easy. Okay, yeah, sure. Season 6.
Season
think.
6.
I have a guess.
Season
I don't know it, but I have a guess.
I don't- Is that season 6 or 7?
It's not 7.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%.
I have a guess.
season?
I
haven't
know.
watched Game of Thrones in a while.
It's been a while.
Maybe. No, I think it's 6.
Okay. I'll go first because I really have
Yeah,
a guess.
six.
Go for it.
Sixth season. Sorry.
It is the sixth
Yeah, it is
season.
sixth season. Yes.
What happens in the sixth season? Brando, can you tell me? You want
My guess is it's the Battle of the Bastards episode.
wasn't Battle of the Bastards season 7 though?
I don't remember.
No, it was season 6, and that is correct.
Ah, okay. I was not
All
gonna guess
right.
Battle of the Bastards. I was
All
gonna
right. Like the Red Wedding or something?
like that, but that was earlier on. So
It had to have been one of the big ones. though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This
really?
was
They directed that?
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay.
That's legit. That's
Yep.
legit. Yeah.
this was
You're-
a longer question, so I'm
and
going
you're
to go ahead.
definitely
and
not
dive
going to
in.
get it.
Dive into it. Which war did George R.R. Martin draw inspiration for the House of the Dragon? For the House of the Dragon plot, he noted his particular interest in the battle for the throne that occurred between a daughter and a cousin. Hint: it's not the War of the Roses.
Damn it! I was gonna say the War of the Roses. I was gonna feel so good about saying the War of the Roses too.
Because that's what Game of Thrones is.
That's what.
Yep.
That's right. That's what Game of Thrones is
Yep.
based on. Yeah. Which is. If you read about the War of the Roses, you're like, oh, I see.
Makes
'Cause
sense.
There's House York and House.
Jersey.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Lannister. It sounds just like Lannister.
and then
instead
the
of
White Walkers come in, it gets wild.
Oh yeah.
The White Walkers are the Scottish.
Yeah. You got House York, House Jersey, and House Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
They're all new.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Heyo.
yeah. They called the Scottish the White Walkers because they were so pale. Did you know that?
And they built the
Yeah.
wall.
It's just-
too.
They did build a wall. Yeah.
Hadrian's
Yeah.
Wall.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
yeah. That's real stuff. Yeah. There's so
Sorry, what war was House
we
of the
know
Dragon?
every answer except for the question you asked us.
Yeah.
Do
Uh,
you want to take a guess?
yeah, Brando, you want to go first on this one?
Well, it can't be the Civil War. House Lincoln.
House Lincoln versus House South.
House Dixie.
House Dixie.
House Lincoln. As long as you're not on House Booth.
Dixie.
I am really gonna guess on this one. Henry VIII and Friends.
I'm gonna guess there. I think it was an HBO show, like House Bourguignon or whatever it was.
That would be the English Civil War of the 12th century.
Yeah, House Bourguignon, also
So
commonly referred to.
We might have gone way too hard
Yeah,
with these
yeah, maybe.
questions.
I said the word Civil War.
You did.
You did.
No,
I thought-
no. Honestly, I would have given it to you if you didn't follow up with the joke.
That's
House
what I said,
Lincoln.
yeah.
Right.
When you said that, I was like, oh, dang, he knows about the English Civil War?
But you know what? The House
Jeez.
Lincoln joke was worth it, okay?
Well, you are beating me by 2 points, so yeah.
The last question.
All right.
How many years spanned during the first season of House of the Dragon?
Oh, man.
How many years spanned?
That's a great one. Because you didn't ask time jump.
Yeah, I forgot. I originally was going to put that in there, and I didn't.
Because
I went
there's
years.
3 time jumps.
I think there's
I think there was
two.
more.
Is there more
I
than...
think there were more than that. I think
Okay.
there were like some smaller ones.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think there's 3 major ones because there's
Maybe.
there's the one where they switch actors for a couple of the
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
right.
there was the jump to where their kids are older.
Well, the
Well,
there was a jump
between-
from Alicent and Viserys. There was like a 2-year jump because the kid was born.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and there was a
and we
jump in
didn't know
between
that.
episode 1 and 2.
2,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So we got to get who's closest.
Yes,
and
who's
I have a
closest.
guess.
Okay,
as
so
I'm trying
from-
to think through the show.
all right, I think
The total jump from start to finish.
Total jump.
total jump from start to finish.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess 16 years.
I was going to guess 20 years.
Nail on the head for
16
Owen.
years. Yeah.
16?
Well done.
16 years.
How did
Well
you do that?
done.
Well, it's great when
When
you do
you've got
research
a computer and Google it.
and a computer in front of you.
That's cheating. That's
Yeah.
how I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
it.
Do you not cheat on these trivia questions?
Is this why you always lose? You know the internet exists, right?
Yeah.
This is all just an act.
Yeah. No, but I do because I keep track of all the so you guys can see my computer screen. I keep
Nice.
track of everything. So
Well,
I trust you.
I have to
I
say,
don't. I would not. I would not. I'm Lannister. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Slytherin house. If
Yeah.
you like,
and
Harry
I'm also a
Potter.
Slytherin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also a Slytherin.
This has been awesome. Like this
it's been a
episode
lot of
is
fun.
going to be one that I recommend to people. Like, guys, this is a funny episode. We had a blast. I had a great time.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. I mean, this is fantastic. How 20 Sides, tell us how about your show, tell us how to find you guys and all that.
Yeah, so anywhere you listen to podcast, we are there. Just search 20 Sides, spell it out, TWENTY. Don't use numbers or you might not find us.
Might
You
not.
might find us. Who knows?
SEO, right? What's all that?
Yeah, exactly.
The AI isn't that advanced enough.
Right, right.
2-0? What's that?
That's not binary.
So yeah, at 20 Sides Pod on any of the socials. We're most active on Instagram. Shoot us a DM if you have questions. Go listen to the podcast. It's a ton of fun, just like this podcast. I think you'll enjoy it.
How many episodes or seasons are you guys into right now?
8.
Episode 21 will come out tomorrow.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
episodes come out every Monday.
Every Monday. Okay, so 2 days before this episode comes out.
Yes.
So go, you
And-
can check it out right now then,
Yeah.
if you're
Yes,
listening. Yeah.
If you're listening now, it's available.
Fuck yeah!
Also, we're launching our Patreon, and
Ooh.
because so most people like yourselves, week to week, right?
Yeah.
We have like what 10 more episodes already in the bag and
Yep.
ready to go.
Nice.
So
Okay.
with our Patreon,
Wow, you guys are like real podcasters.
we are
Yeah.
doing
Wow.
it.
This is weird, isn't
We're
it, Owen?
doing it.
I'm feeling a little emasculated right now.
It's okay to feel embarrassed. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried a D&D podcast and failed.
Yeah.
I gotta go home tonight and get this episode ready.
Well, and I'll say too,
That-
I think one of the things that kind of sets us apart from a lot of other D&D podcasts is our episodes are about 35 to 45 minutes each. They're not like a
Oh,
full
wow.
D&D
Okay.
session
Yeah.
of like an
Yeah.
hour and a half, 2 hours, because everybody has enough content in their life to.
So you're really editing just the best stuff.
So we'll play for about 4 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we'll cut down to get 4 or 5 episodes out of it.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
That is so many questions for you guys off air.
What we really
that's
wanted,
some real work right there. Yeah,
because a lot of what we wanted to do, and like you're saying, trying to keep that 45-minute mark.
Yeah.
Like, that hits commutes. Like what you want to do is catch people and finalize that type of thing. And so that was really one of our goals. When we got into some of the other D&D podcasts, and it's like 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long, and you're like trying to keep up with the story, but there's so many breaks in life, right?
And there's a lot of banter and such during it.
You know, that's how we started this show. We were playing D&D together, and we just kept talking about movies. I was like, "Hey, you want to do a movie podcast?"
Yeah, there you go. But no, that to us, as we called it market research, like before we started, and it was just a bunch of like Twitter and Reddit polls. But like during D&D podcasts, like you can almost cut 45 minutes out of every one of those, and you miss absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And so we cut out anything that's just like, hey, what's that rule? Or hey, how did you do this? Or I mean, we edit down a bunch, and it doesn't take out of the experience of the podcast, but it it keeps you in the story.
Yeah.
Do you still keep in the masturbating the feet?
Yeah,
scenes?
definitely.
Okay.
That's
That's
at the beginning and
I'm
the end
gonna
of each
tune
episode.
in then.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait till it turns video. Anyway,
you can check that out at
Yes.
fansly.com/20 dudes.
That's 20 dudes.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
but now,
But with our Patreon, we're going to be able to offer episodes early. We've got some Patreon-only campaigns that we're doing, and doing some of those things too that are more, because we're such Game of Thrones fans, we want to give you some of the like what happened before this.
Yeah.
Or like how
nice.
did these people get here, or what happened to those people we just left.
Yeah.
Like, so we want to give some of that too and get into that storyline. It's all homebrewed, so it's all our stuff. Even down to monsters. Matt is all about reskinning monsters and doing those things.
Nice.
And
so you aren't paying royalties to Wizard of the Coast.
not yet.
We don't have time.
I mean, once we make over $750,000
There we
a
go.
year,
We'll
I mean,
do
we
that.
will,
Yeah.
but
There we go.
not a big deal.
Once we make over $750,
Yeah, exactly.
we're gonna get ice cream.
We just launched September. Was when we started.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
Okay, so
we've
ground
been-
floor, get in on
Yeah,
the ground
we've
floor.
been pretty new
Fuck
to like actually putting out episodes. We started we had some the D&D community online is awesome.
Yes.
It is so amazing.
Especially on
And
TikTok. The TikTok D&D community is insane.
the
how
people
good
on
they are.
Instagram that we found are like buddies now.
Yeah.
Like we talk to them all the time, and we started really like campaigning and pushing in March.
Yep.
Okay.
So probably a good 6 months before we ever launched the podcast.
Yeah.
And they were all like worried for us. They were like, because we had like 600 followers or something, and they were like, y'all haven't even put anything out yet. Like, you already have 600 followers. Oh, like, is it going to be okay? And then luckily, we did our homework, and we tried to put out the best product we could. So
That's
awesome.
yeah.
And we've broken into the top 100 in gaming podcasts on Apple.
Yeah.
Fuck yes.
yeah.
Love that.
That's
We're
awesome.
number 12 in Denmark. So basically, I mean, we're moving there.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Hey,
For
we like
some
your
reason-
podcast.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
We did.
Do you want free healthcare?
Yeah.
Somehow we
So I'm
broke
Danish
into,
now.
like-
I don't know if y'all know this.
Lugan, and Rugen. Love the show.
We also have Aegon here.
That's good.
One last time.
No, that's not going to be the last time. I promise you that.
Well, I mean, obviously, you guys are like super sharp, super witty, super funny. You're fun to listen to. So the show's great. Everyone should check it out.
Yeah. And honestly, we can't wait to have you guys back on.
Oh,
we
For
love
House
to.
of Dragons Part 2.
Anytime,
Yes.
dude, we are down. This was
Rings of
so
Power.
much fun. So much fun.
We're
Oh.
never doing a Rings of Power episode.
Rings of Power.
We're never doing a Rings of Power episode.
Oh, no.
Awesome.
Also, it's Owen's turn.
Is it?
It is.
Oh, also remember to check out our Instagram and Patreon websites and all that things. All of the links will be in the show notes.
Yes, and we're proud members of the Helios Network, a collection of great podcasts made by regular people.
Check us out at www.theheliosnetwork.com to see some of our other amazing podcasts, like one of my personal favorites, All Be Careful, You'll Be Dead, which is our
yes.
Star Wars-based podcast led by Xavier and Chris. They're absolutely hilarious. They're huge nerds. Every single week they're talking about new Star Wars things. Right now they're recapping the great series of Andor.
It was
and
amazing.
It's so good. I would
It was
definitely check
amazing.
them out. Yeah.
It was amazing. Well, we love you all, and thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Banter and Such.
Next week, we're talking about something.
It's not scheduled yet.
It's not scheduled yet, but we're talking about something, and more than likely, it's just going to be Brando and I.
We're going to have a great time. Well, I'm Brando.
And I'm Aegon.
And until next time, damn it, Owen. May your week be filled with BS.
I told you I'd get one more in.
That was perfect.
That was so good.
Oh, man.